Good day, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome again to Underground Archery. And for today's very quick session, I would like to discuss briefly about arrow spines. Now, there's a lot of new archers, or rather new interests for traditional archery in Malaysia. And one of the more common question is that what is the most suitable arrow spine for me or for the individual archer itself? Now, for the first thing that you will have to understand, arrow spine really defines the flexibility of the arrow. The higher the number, the more flexible the arrow. Another thing to consider, you will also need to be aware of your bow poundage and your draw length. For example, if you're an archer drawing 30 pound bow, then your arrow spine would be anywhere between 600 to 700 and could even be 800 spine. It depends on number one, on your draw length, because if you're not drawing full, if you're not drawing up to 28 inches or to your anchor point, that will also affect your arrow spine. Now, a lot of people would like to assume if you're using like a heavier bow, then your arrow spine will go much lower. For example, if you're using 50 pounds, then the recommended arrow spine would be around 400 spine. But I think this depends solely on the archer, the shape of the face, the height, the length of the arm, the draw length, the bow poundage. All this will actually play a very important role. So for today's live session, I would like to demonstrate using various arrow spines from 400 spine all the way to 600 spine, shooting with a single bow, which is the Kaya Black Cat 60 pounds. In theory, the most suitable spine for a 60-pound bow, such as this one, is 400 spine. But when I started practicing, I started experimenting, I noticed 400 spine is too stiff for me. So we will do some shoots. For today, I'll be shooting left-handed. So probably best if I bring the camera behind me so that you're able to see how I'm shooting and where the arrow is placed. Now, for today, I'm not doing the ASP or the accuracy, speed, and power shooting sequence. I am actually shooting based on accuracy. So I'm going to take my time to nock the arrow. I'm going to take my time to draw an anchor. It's so that I can identify the effect of the arrow spine based on my aiming point. So for today, the aiming method that I will be using is to draw all the way up to my eyes, high up, and I will also be using the string walking technique. Now, if you are using the Kaya bow, if you have the original variants, you will actually have colors on the serving. So I will use this for string walking. Now, for games, traditional archery games, you are only allowed to have 2 knocking points. So for string walking purposes, I would actually set one for 10 meters and one for 30 and beyond. So over here, where I have my tape, this is for my 30-meter mark. But if in order for me to get my 10-meter distance, I will have to put approximately 1.5 fingers above that. So we'll be shooting various spine of arrows in random order. I will be aiming it towards the triangle in the middle, and I'll be aiming with my left eye, aligning my left eye with my knuckles. So the first arrow, this is the Taurus. You can see there that this is, I don't know whether you can, maybe it's glaring too much. It's 500 spine. So let's see. So I will bring the camera to the target after this. That was 500 spine. Next arrow would be 600 spine. And the third arrow would be 400 spine. So let's bring the camera to the target so that you can actually see the effects of it. So I am actually aiming right in the middle here using my knuckles and my left eye. If you notice, 500 spine is over here. It's too stiff. It's too stiff for me. But although the recommended arrow spine for a 60-pound bow is anywhere between 300 to 400, when I'm using 400, the arrow goes all the way to the right. What does that tell us? It tells us that the arrow is too stiff. If you look in the middle, this, the yellow one, this was 500 spine. It is much closer to where I'm aiming at. So this tells me 500 spine is more suitable for me. And here you can see the orange one. This was the 600 spine, which tells me that this arrow is too flexible. So here, this is a good example to see how does the arrow spine affect your accuracy. So there is no definite rule or a guide that you can say, oh, 60 pound, 400 spine, or 50 pound, you have to use 500 spine. The best thing for you to actually do is for you to consult your archery coach and try out the various type of arrow spines and make sure that you can shoot at first consistently. For example, if you're shooting 3 arrows using the 400 spine, if all the arrows is grouped here to the right, that means you know that you're consistent, but the arrow is too stiff. Now, why do I say it is too stiff? In order for us to understand how the spine of arrow works, we have to first understand Archer's paradox. What is Archer's paradox? Archer's paradox happens when your arrow, when you knock it, when you release it. If you notice, if you take a slow-mo camera, you can actually see the arrow is actually bending into the bow. It actually bends into the bow. If the arrow is too stiff, the arrow will be kicked out because of the stiffness. If the arrow is too weak, it will bend too much and it will go to the left. So if you are using, say, a thumb draw with your right hand, you're knocking the arrows on the right side. If your arrow deviates more to the right, your arrow is too stiff. If your arrow deviates too much to the left, that means your arrow is too flexible. So you have to find the spine in between, the sweet spot. And to do that, it is best for you to consult your archery coach, and it is also the best way to do it is for you to try to shoot it yourself. Don't just listen to what people tell you, don't just pick it up, because if you do that and if you fail to achieve the accuracy that you're looking for, you will start blaming the arrow, you will start blaming your coach. No, that's not the best way to do it. For archery, each archer is unique. Your arrow spine will be affected by, number one, the size or the structure of your face. Number two, the size of your arrow pass or your window. The bigger it is, the more that you need to consider the flexibility of the arrow. Number three, your drawing and anchoring. Where are you anchoring? How far are you drawing back? All of this will severely affect your accuracy. But this is more on the accuracy of shooting. If you would like to do, like, let's say, the ASP method, fast shooting, and you're shooting at less than 20 meters, the arrow spine may not be most important. What's most important that a lot of people fail to recognize is your arrow weight. If you are using a laminated bow, say like the V, the Ali bow, or even like the AF bow, you have to remember these bows comes with a minimum GPP. What is GPP? That is grains per pound. It defines what is the safe weight for your arrow. So for example, a V laminated bow, a very beautiful and premium bow, the arrow GPP is 10. What does that mean? If you're using a 60-pound bow, at 10 GPP, you will need to use at least a 600 grain arrow. Any lighter than that, you risk breaking your bow. Okay? If you use an arrow that is too heavy, it will not spoil your bow, but it will severely affect your accuracy. Your arrow will drop because it's too heavy. So before you start going around asking everybody what's the best arrow spine, what's the best this and that, it is best for you to first understand yourself as an archer. What is your bow poundage? What is your draw length? What is your weight? What is your height? All these factors can then be calculated so that you can define exactly what is the arrow spine that's required for you. This is highly dependent if you want to achieve accuracy in shooting, irregardless whether you're doing traditional archery, modern recurve, or compound. Arrow spine affects your accuracy. Arrow weight affects the longevity of your bow. Please do not simply buy light arrows if you are shooting heavy poundage bows, because if you do that, you risk breaking the bow and voiding any type of warranty that you may have. There's been a lot of cases in Malaysia, people buying really expensive bow, for example, buying the V, buying the Scorpius bows. These bows are premium bows. But what people fail to realize that these bows require specific set of arrows with specific weights to ensure that the bow lasts long. So for this one, the Kaya bow's GPP is 7.5. Meaning, if I am shooting 60 pounds, I can go as light as 450 grains. Why am I using grain? Because it's easier for you to measure the arrow's usability with your bow. Don't simply say, I want this gram, I want 100 grams. No, you have to know where you're at. You have to know yourself as an archer. What is your spine? What is your draw length? What is your weight? There is no excuses. You can actually learn about this on YouTube, on the internet. You just have to learn it and don't just rely on other people's recommendations. If you have an archery coach that you've been training with, your archery coach should be able to suggest what is the best arrow spine for you. So before you start blaming yourself that you are not a great archer or you're not accurate or you're not consistent, do remember, check your arrow spine, check your draw length, check your arrow weight, check your bow, check your height, check your facial structure. If you look at this, it seems like there's so many things you have to think about. But as you learn, as you try the various types of arrows, as you try the various types of bows, you will realize how important it is to achieve accuracy. So that's all for me. My name is Anwar Matsat from Eureka Archery. I hope this helped you a bit in identifying and selecting the best arrows for you. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, and we are on YouTube. Till next time, be an archer today.